Did you know that octopuses can change the texture and color of their skin to camouflage themselves? They can be smooth and solid or patterned and thorny if they wanted to blend in with rocks and coral. Did you know that octopuses is the correct plural form of octopus and not octopi, octopodes, or octopodes? Did you know that a 600-pound octopus can escape through a hole the size of a quarter? Most people probably know that octopuses can ink and swim away quickly to flee a situation. But did you know that if attacked, an octopus can even break off one of its own limbs to escape, and then they can grow that limb back? So what does this have to do with you? Well, there might be a time in your life where blending in might be the smartest choice. And there are other times when standing up for yourself is what you choose to do. You might need to even cut off a part of your life that isn't serving you. But how do you know which one is the right choice? Well, I don't claim to have all the answers, but I'm going to share with you today 3 times I made choices in my own life. On Friday, March 13th, 2020, I left a dream job at Google. I left to launch my own company, Tentacles and Tea, where I planned to run well-being retreats for women all over the world. This is a picture of me checking out one of my planned venues in Switzerland. Not a bad view, right? So does anybody remember what happened in the Bay Area on March 16th, 2020? Shelter in place was announced. So day 1 of being an entrepreneur turned into day 1 of trying to homeschool a kindergartner and a 3rd grader while my husband took all his meetings from the dining room table. Clearly, it was an interesting time to be leaving behind a stable job and a paycheck to start a company in an industry that had come to a very clear, abrupt stop. Some might even say it was not the right decision. But let's pause and go back in time. As a kid watching movies, the successful people always seem to wear a business suit, carry a briefcase, and ride in an elevator. So in my mind, this is what successful people look like. So when I was a teenager working my first job at the mall, it was my dream to work in a high-rise building. 2 years into my mall job, I got my opportunity. I got an offer to work an office job in a 13-story building where, yes, I would get to ride the elevator every single day. An important detail was that this was a temporary job. So when I handed in my 2 weeks notice, my manager at the mall couldn't understand why I was leaving to take a 3-week temp job. Several smart, well-meaning people around me also told me it was not the right decision. But there was no way that they could be in my body to feel the excitement that I felt about working in a building with elevators. At that moment in life, I wanted to take that risk. I wanted to invest in a new experience, take the permission slip that life had just handed to me, and check off that goal. I even bought a faux leather briefcase so I could really look the part. Well, that 3-week temporary job turned into several roles and 6 years working at that building with the elevators. So score 1 for me not doing the right thing. When it came time to leave that company, I took a job with 0 salary. But this job had the shiny, dangling carrot of sales commissions. An authority figure in my life asked, if it's so easy to make these sales commissions, don't you think everyone would be doing it? Why would you leave behind a guaranteed salary and benefits? It was deja vu. Again, people in my life were telling me what the right decision was for my life. And again, I decided to take the risk anyway. In my first year at that new job, not only did I nearly triple my income, I learned skills that I still use today. Fast forward a few years, and I found myself in a conference room at a Google building in Mountain View, facing an interviewer who said, "You'll never be hired here. I'm sorry to be so blunt. These aren't my rules, but we just don't hire people full-time who don't have at least a bachelor's degree. You can work a 12-month contract, but that's it." As a person without a bachelor's degree who was a new mother to a 1-year-old, people told me how lucky I was to already have a full-time job with vacation and benefits, and it would be the wrong decision to want more. It would be the wrong decision to take a 1-year contract role, especially when the interviewer was so honest about there being no future. My response to that interviewer was, I understand this is a contract role, and I believe that 12 months at this leading global organization will give me experiences that I wouldn't otherwise have. And I'm acknowledging that this is for a finite period. Okay, so I probably wasn't that eloquent, but I do remember nodding, telling her I understood and I would do my best for the 12 months, and that was that. Well, that 12-month contract eventually turned into my being successful in 5 different roles, in 2 countries, over 9 years. And yes, I did get hired as a full-time employee. In fact, the last role I had was managing learning and development programs for the executive leaders. I was living the dream. I was working at the #1 best place to work, not only in Silicon Valley, but a place regarded as one of the top places to work in the world. I absolutely loved working at Google. I loved my job, and I was surrounded by brilliant people enjoying all the perks you've probably heard of, like the free meals, yoga, the chiropractor on site. But I was burning out. My well-being was suffering. I was waking up in the middle of the night thinking about work. My hands started shaking. I chipped 2 teeth in a matter of weeks, and my dentist said it was due to stress. So I then talked to a work stress coach, my doctor, 2 therapists, and a psychiatrist. I bet you can guess each one had an opinion on what the right thing to do was. I made a decision that didn't make a lot of sense to people on the outside. I chose to leave the stock, that nice stable salary, the benefits, and all those perks behind. I hit pause on the career climb to focus on getting myself to a healthier mental place. I left Google to launch my own well-being company, to take all the things that I had then studied, learned, and practiced, the proven tools that I used personally to build my own happiness, my resilience, and my well-being. So now we're back to where we started a few minutes ago, leaving Google on March 13th, choosing what some people might say was the wrong choice. But you know what I have done in the past year? I just made more choices. I became certified in leading I Am Remarkable workshops. This is an initiative that empowers women and other underrepresented groups to build confidence in sharing their accomplishments. And I started teaching tools to overcome imposter syndrome, which affects so many people. I got my positive psychology coaching certification. I now teach corporate employees virtually, including over 200 Googlers, on how to build their happiness, resilience, and well-being. Resilience has become a bit of a trendy word these days, but it means the ability to bounce back after a tough situation. What we often forget is you can't bounce back from a tough situation if you never let yourself get into a tough situation. It is impossible to build resilience without failure. So if you never take risks and fail, you're not giving yourself the chance to build your resilience. So you might be thinking, but Nicole, you just gave us 3 examples of times you took risks and how you didn't fail. But my friends, the reason I've had so many of these successes is that I did fall, but I got back up over and over again. Maybe one day I'll have a talk where I share how difficult it was to camouflage while I was essentially in a religious cult until I built up enough courage to escape, and how that decision caused me to lose relationships with nearly every person I had in my life at that point. Or how I was in an abusive relationship and cried alone every night in my bathtub. But each time I get back up, it gets easier to believe that I'll be able to figure the next thing out. What feels like an acceptable risk for me now might feel awful for you. But could we at least stop to consider that there might not be a right answer for a whole lot of life? Maybe with a challenge you're facing in your life right now, it is best for you to be safe, camouflage, and be still. Or maybe it's time to take a risk, even if everyone around you thinks it's the wrong choice. Or maybe it's time for you to actually leave a person or a part of your life behind. Life is an experiment and we all get choices, but this doesn't have to only be about the big life-changing choices. Where could you practice failing? Where could you take a micro risk so you can build your resilience? So when those big choices do come, you'll be more prepared. I'm not saying it'll be easy or that it won't hurt. Failing doesn't feel great. But what's the alternative? Never try, never fail, never truly live? There will always be people in the world telling you what's right for you, what clothes you should wear, what makeup is the right choice for the age you are. You should split your hair down the middle. You should have a side part. The right foods to eat, the right college, the right major, the right career path, the right spouse in the right house with the perfect white picket fence. I'm cheering for you to trust yourself. Unless we're talking about causing harm to yourself or others, there probably isn't an overall right answer. Remember when people believed the earth was flat or that smoking was good for you? The best experts get it wrong sometimes. So yes, absolutely consult and consider the advice of people you trust. And remember that you are the expert on you. Trust yourself to make the right decision for right now, based on the information that you have today. If you learn more information or circumstances change in a month or a year and that decision no longer feels right, guess what? You can always make a new decision. So the next time you see an octopus, whether it's art or in the wild, I want you to do a little check-in with yourself and see if there's a decision that you need to make. Then make that choice and embrace your inner octopus.